The Galactic Council, a governing body comprised of the most advanced and powerful alien species in the galaxy, had long viewed itself as the ultimate authority over all interstellar affairs. For centuries, the Council maintained its dominance through a combination of overwhelming military force and superior technology. Each member species contributed to this collective power, ensuring that any potential threats to the established order were swiftly neutralized. To the Council, their rule was not just a matter of might, but of destiny. They believed that their advanced civilizations were naturally entitled to govern the galaxy, and that any lesser species would inevitably fall under their control. Among the many worlds within the Council's domain, Earth was seen as little more than a curiosity. Humanity, though relatively new to the galactic stage, had shown a penchant for innovation and resilience, but these traits were not enough to earn the respect of the Council. Instead, Earth was viewed as a minor player, a planet whose defenses were laughably inadequate in comparison to the technological marvels possessed by the Council's member species. For years, the Council's intelligence agencies monitored Earth, gathering data on its military capabilities. The reports they compiled painted a picture of a species content with its place in the galaxy, with no serious ambitions for expansion or conflict. These observations led the Council to conclude that humanity posed no significant threat. Earth's military infrastructure, while robust by human standards, appeared outdated and insufficient to challenge the might of any advanced alien force, let alone the combined power of the Galactic Council. Human weaponry was seen as primitive, their tactics unsophisticated, and their defenses easily penetrable. To the Council, Earth was a backwater planet, its people too focused on their internal affairs to be of any real concern to the galactic order. This perception was further reinforced during a pivotal meeting of the Council, where Earth's potential threat level was formally discussed. Human ambassadors, aware of the growing interest in their world, issued a stern warning to the Council. They cautioned that Earth's defenses, though not fully understood by outsiders, were far more formidable than they appeared. The ambassadors stressed that any attempt to invade or subjugate Earth would be met with resistance on a scale that the Council had not anticipated. However, these warnings were met with skepticism and even derision. The Council members, confident in their own superiority, dismissed the human warnings as little more than bluster. They pointed to the intelligence reports that showed no significant advancements in Earth's military technology. To them, the idea that humanity could pose a serious challenge was laughable. The Council members exchanged amused glances, convinced that the humans were simply trying to bluff their way out of a situation they knew they couldn't win. The decision was made: Earth was not a threat, and the Council would not waste its resources on a planet of such little importance. Emboldened by the Council's dismissal of humanity's warnings, a coalition of alien species within the Council's ranks saw an opportunity. These species, eager to curry favor with the more powerful members of the Council, proposed a plan to invade Earth. They argued that a swift and decisive victory over the humans would not only eliminate a potential nuisance but also demonstrate their loyalty and effectiveness to the Council. The coalition envisioned an easy conquest, one that would solidify their status within the galactic hierarchy and possibly earn them greater influence within the Council. The plan was approved with little debate. The coalition, now confident in the Council's backing, began preparations for the invasion. They assembled a fleet of warships, each equipped with the latest in alien technology, and devised a strategy that they believed would bring Earth to its knees within days. The coalition leaders, fueled by arrogance and the desire for glory, ignored any remaining doubts about the human warnings. They were convinced that their superior firepower and advanced tactics would make short work of Earth's defenses. As the coalition's fleet moved into position, the Galactic Council watched with detached interest. The members were certain that the invasion would proceed as planned, with Earth falling quickly and without significant resistance. The human ambassadors' warnings had been ignored, their voices drowned out by the Council's overconfidence. To the Council, this was just another routine operation, one that would reinforce their dominance and serve as a reminder to any other species considering defiance. The invasion of Earth began with the cold precision that the coalition had meticulously planned. The fleet, a formidable armada composed of the latest warships from various alien species, moved into Earth's orbit with an air of invincibility. Each ship bristled with advanced weaponry, energy shields, and the confidence of a force that had never known defeat. The coalition commanders, stationed aboard their flagships, issued the order to commence the attack, fully expecting a swift and decisive victory. The first targets were Earth's key cities and infrastructure. The coalition forces focused their initial strikes on communication hubs, military bases, and power grids, believing that crippling these would plunge the planet into chaos. The attacks were methodical, with waves of bombers and strike teams descending on their objectives. Explosions lit up the night skies over major cities, and the coalition's forces encountered only minimal resistance. It seemed, at first, that the intelligence reports had been accurate. Earth's defenses were outdated and inadequate. As the invasion progressed, the coalition forces quickly gained ground. Human military installations fell one by one, their defenses seemingly unable to withstand the onslaught. Cities went dark as power grids were taken offline, and communication networks across the globe were disrupted. The coalition broadcasted their early victories across the galaxy, showcasing the ease with which they were dismantling Earth's defenses. These broadcasts served to reinforce the prevailing belief that humanity was no match for the advanced technology and superior tactics of the coalition. Within hours, the coalition forces had established control over several key regions. Ground troops were deployed to secure strategic locations, encountering little resistance from the disorganized human forces. The invaders moved with a confidence born of expectation, believing that Earth was on the verge of capitulation. The scenes of human soldiers retreating, their weapons seemingly ineffective against the alien invaders, only added to the coalition's sense of superiority. The commanders were already discussing the terms of Earth's surrender, convinced that the war was all but won. The Galactic Council, monitoring the invasion from afar, was pleased with the progress. The members had never doubted the outcome, but seeing the ease with which the coalition was achieving its objectives served as validation of their earlier assessments. The reports of victory flowed in, and the council members congratulated themselves on their decision to support the invasion. They viewed it as a confirmation that their dominance in the galaxy was unchallenged, and that humanity, like so many other species before them, would soon be brought to heel. As the coalition forces continued their advance, they encountered little in the way of organized resistance. The few pockets of human military forces that attempted to fight back were quickly overwhelmed. The invaders, now spread across multiple fronts, grew increasingly confident that the operation would be completed within days. The narrative of Earth's inevitable fall was cemented in the minds of the coalition soldiers and their commanders alike. They saw their mission as a formality, a simple exercise in demonstrating the futility of opposing the Galactic Council. However, while the coalition reveled in their early successes, human leaders were not idle. In secure bunkers deep beneath the surface, far from the chaos unfolding above, they monitored the invasion with grim determination. The apparent weakness of Earth's defenses was no accident. The rapid collapse of the initial line of defense had been a calculated decision, a deliberate ploy to draw the invaders deeper into the planet's heart, where the real battle would begin. The human leadership, aware that their surface defenses would be inadequate against such an overwhelming force, had long prepared for this eventuality. Contingency plans that had been developed in secret were now set into motion. The first phase of the plan had been to allow the coalition to believe in their easy victory, to lull them into a false sense of security. The invaders, confident in their dominance, had spread their forces thin across the planet, making them vulnerable to the next stage of the human response. As the invasion appeared to reach its zenith, the human leaders gave the order to activate their hidden defenses. These were not the outdated systems that the coalition had encountered thus far, but advanced technologies that had been kept out of sight, ready to be deployed at the most critical moment. The apparent disarray and weakness of Earth's defenses had been nothing more than a ruse, a carefully crafted illusion designed to draw the invaders into a trap from which they could not escape. As the coalition forces continued their advance across Earth, their confidence grew with every step. Their fleets hovered menacingly in orbit, their ground troops occupied key positions, and their commanders were preparing to issue the final demands for humanity's surrender. But just as the coalition believed they were on the brink of total victory, the true nature of Earth's defenses was revealed. Without warning, Earth's hidden defensive systems sprang to life. From deep within the planet's surface, long-dormant automated weapon systems began to activate. Massive artillery batteries, buried in remote locations, emerged and locked onto the invading ships in orbit. These weapons, powered by advanced energy sources and guided by AI targeting systems, unleashed a barrage of firepower that tore through the Coalition's ranks with devastating accuracy. Ships that had once dominated the skies above Earth were suddenly caught in a relentless crossfire, their shields failing under the sustained assault. Simultaneously, the skies over Earth shimmered as planetary shields, invisible until now, were activated. These shields enveloped major cities and strategic sites, repelling the Coalition's bombardments with ease. The energy blasts that had previously wreaked havoc on Earth's infrastructure now dissipated harmlessly against these protective barriers. Coalition commanders, accustomed to crushing their enemies with overwhelming firepower, found themselves powerless as their most potent weapons were rendered ineffective. On the ground, the situation rapidly deteriorated for the invaders. As Coalition troops advanced deeper into human territory, they encountered defenses far more sophisticated than they had anticipated. Fortresses that had appeared vulnerable were suddenly revealed to be shielded strongholds, equipped with advanced weaponry and reinforced with the latest in human engineering. Automated turrets, hidden until now, sprang into action, cutting down enemy soldiers with pinpoint precision. AI-controlled drones swarmed the battlefield, targeting and eliminating key enemy units with ruthless efficiency. The invaders, who had expected to march unopposed to victory, were thrown into chaos. Panic spread through their ranks as they realized that they had been lured into a trap. Communication lines were jammed, their formations were disrupted, and their supply lines were severed by surgical strikes. The Coalition fleet, once so imposing, was now a collection of burning wreckage scattered across the sky. Ground forces, isolated and outmaneuvered, were systematically decimated by human counterattacks that seemed to come from every direction. As the Coalition struggled to regroup, they began to grasp the full extent of humanity's military capabilities. The technology they faced was unlike anything they had encountered before. Earth's defenses were not just advanced, they were years, perhaps even decades, ahead of what the Coalition had anticipated. Human engineers had developed cloak strike forces capable of moving undetected behind enemy lines, striking at will and vanishing before a response could be mounted. AI-driven defense systems coordinated the battlefield with a precision that outmatched even the most seasoned alien commanders. The revelation of Earth's true military strength sent shockwaves through the Coalition's leadership. Their intelligence had been flawed, their assumptions dangerously misguided. The humans, who had been dismissed as technologically inferior, had been quietly preparing for this moment, developing weapons and strategies that could neutralize even the most advanced alien invaders. The Coalition's forces, spread thin and overextended, were now at the mercy of an enemy they had vastly underestimated. The first major defeat for the Coalition came swiftly. As their ships attempted to retreat from Earth's orbit, they were intercepted by a hidden fleet of human warships that had remained cloaked until the moment of attack. These ships, equipped with cutting-edge weaponry and advanced stealth technology, cut through the retreating forces with brutal efficiency. The Coalition fleet, once numbering in the hundreds, was reduced to a handful of surviving vessels, which fled in disarray, their morale shattered and their commanders in shock. On the ground, the remnants of the Coalition's invasion force fared no better. Trapped behind enemy lines, with no hope of reinforcement or evacuation, they were systematically hunted down by human forces. The invaders, who had begun the campaign with arrogance and overconfidence, now faced annihilation. The ease with which Earth repelled the invasion left the Coalition soldiers and commanders alike reeling. The battle, which they had expected to be over in days, had turned into a nightmare from which they could not wake. As news of the defeat reached the Galactic Council, disbelief quickly turned to horror. The members, who had so confidently dismissed humanity's warnings, now faced the grim reality of their misjudgment. Earth, far from being the defenseless planet they had imagined, had proven itself to be a fortress bristling with hidden power. The coalition's catastrophic failure sent ripples through the Council, forcing them to confront the possibility that they had underestimated not just Earth's defenses, but humanity itself. The tide of the battle had turned in a matter of hours, and the consequences would be felt across the galaxy. The Galactic Council, once so sure of its superiority, was now faced with the task of reassessing its entire approach to Earth and its inhabitants. The ease with which the coalition had been defeated was a stark reminder that the galaxy was more complex and unpredictable than they had believed. Earth had not just defended itself, it had delivered a message that would not be easily forgotten. The news of the coalition's defeat spread through the Galactic Council like wildfire. What had started as a confident and calculated invasion had ended in a catastrophic failure. The council members, who had been so certain of their superiority, were left in shock. Reports of the devastating losses, both in space and on the ground, poured in, each one more troubling than the last. The coalition, which had been handpicked by the council for this mission, was in tatters, its fleet decimated, its troops scattered or destroyed. The realization of what had happened began to sink in, and with it came the undeniable truth: the council had made a grave mistake. Panic quickly gave way to chaos within the council chambers. The members, once united in their belief that Earth posed no real threat, were now grappling with the consequences of their misjudgment. The certainty that had characterized their discussions was gone, replaced by confusion and fear. How could they have been so wrong? How had they underestimated humanity to such a degree? These questions hung heavy in the air as the council members struggled to comprehend the magnitude of their failure. Blame was cast in all directions. Some members pointed fingers at the intelligence agencies, accusing them of failing to properly assess Earth's capabilities. They argued that the reports had been incomplete or, worse, deliberately misleading. Others turned their ire on the coalition's commanders, questioning their tactics and decision-making. How had they allowed themselves to be drawn into such an obvious trap? But as the recriminations flew, it became clear that the fault lay not just with those who had carried out the invasion, but with the council itself. Voices were raised in anger as the members began to confront their own arrogance. Had they been too quick to dismiss the human warnings? Had their confidence in their own superiority blinded them to the possibility that humanity might have more strength than they realized? Some members admitted, reluctantly, that they had ignored the signs, choosing instead to believe in a narrative that suited their own preconceptions. The human ambassadors had warned them, had told them that Earth's defenses were not to be underestimated. But the Council, so sure of its place in the galaxy, had laughed off those warnings, convinced that no primitive species could stand against them. As the arguments raged, a message arrived from Earth. The human ambassadors, aware of the Council's disarray, sent a communication that was both direct and measured. They reaffirmed the warnings they had issued before the invasion, making it clear that humanity had never sought war but would defend itself with overwhelming force if necessary. The message was not a threat, but a statement of fact. Humanity, the ambassadors explained, had no desire to continue the conflict. They offered a cautious truce, a chance for the Council to step back and reconsider its approach. The message sent shockwaves through the Council. The humans were not gloating over their victory, nor were they demanding retribution. Instead, they were offering a way out, a chance to avoid further bloodshed. But the offer came with a clear implication: humanity was no longer the minor player the Council had once believed. Earth had proven itself to be a formidable power, capable of defending itself against the best the Council could send. This realization left the members with a difficult decision to make. The Council's dilemma was profound. On one hand, they could accept the human offer of a truce, acknowledging their mistake and opening the door to diplomacy. This option, while potentially humiliating, would at least prevent further losses and might lead to a new, if uneasy, balance of power in the galaxy. But there were those within the Council who balked at the idea of treating humanity as an equal. They feared what it would mean for the future if a species that had once been dismissed as insignificant were now allowed to rise to prominence. Others within the Council argued for a different approach. They suggested imposing sanctions on Earth, restricting trade and travel to the planet in an attempt to isolate humanity and curb its influence. This strategy, they believed, would allow the Council to regain some measure of control without resorting to further military action. But the effectiveness of such sanctions was debated. Could they really contain a species that had already proven itself so capable? The most extreme voices in the Council called for a renewed military effort, one that would crush humanity once and for all. They argued that the Council could not afford to let this defeat stand, that allowing humanity to go unpunished would embolden other species to challenge the established order. But even these hardliners knew that another invasion would be fraught with risk. The coalition had already been decimated, and there was no guarantee that a second attempt would fare any better. As the debate wore on, it became clear that there was no easy answer. The Council had been humbled, their authority shaken, and their next move would determine the future of their relationship with humanity. Some members began to suggest that perhaps, rather than trying to control or subjugate Earth, the Council should consider an alliance. Humanity had demonstrated strength, resilience, and technological prowess, qualities that, if harnessed, could benefit the entire galaxy. But this idea, too, was met with resistance from those who still viewed humanity with suspicion. The remnants of the Coalition fleet, battered and broken, limped back to their home worlds in the aftermath of their disastrous invasion of Earth. What had once been a formidable armada was now reduced to a scattering of damaged ships, their commanders filled with a sense of disbelief and humiliation. The defeat served as a stark reminder to the entire galaxy of the dangers of underestimating Earth and its inhabitants. The Coalition's failure was not just a military setback. It was a seismic shift in the balance of power that would have far-reaching consequences. Back at the Galactic Council, the realization of this new reality began to take hold. The Council members, once so confident in their assessments, were now forced to confront the implications of their miscalculation. The invasion that was supposed to solidify the Council's dominance had instead exposed their vulnerability and their flawed understanding of Earth's true capabilities. In response, the Council knew they had to adjust their policies and strategies to account for the unexpected rise of humanity as a significant power in the galaxy. Humanity's rise to prominence was swift and undeniable. With their defensive capabilities now fully revealed, Earth was no longer seen as a backwater planet ripe for conquest. Instead, it became a focal point of galactic attention. Species that had once been dismissive of humanity now approached Earth with caution and respect, recognizing the strength and ingenuity that had allowed them to repel a superior force. Diplomatic envoys, eager to forge new alliances or secure trade deals, began to make their way to Earth, seeking to build relationships with a species that had proven itself far more formidable than anyone had imagined. The Galactic Council, humbled by the events that had unfolded, took steps to officially acknowledge humanity's new status. In a rare display of unity, the Council members agreed to open diplomatic channels with Earth, recognizing that their previous approach had been misguided. They proposed a formal agreement aimed at preventing future conflicts and ensuring that the mistakes of the past would not be repeated. This agreement, while necessary, was also an admission of the Council's error, a recognition that they had underestimated a species that had now emerged as a key player in galactic affairs. Humanity, for its part, was fully aware of the new role it had to play. The victory over the Coalition had not only protected Earth but had also thrust the planet into the complex and often treacherous world of galactic politics. Human leaders, while proud of their achievements, understood that the challenges ahead would require careful navigation. They had proven their ability to defend themselves, but now they needed to ensure that Earth's newfound power was used wisely. The prospect of managing alliances, negotiating with other species, and maintaining peace in a galaxy that had only recently acknowledged their strength was both daunting and exhilarating. The discussions among human leaders were focused on how to leverage their victory to secure a lasting peace. They were determined to protect Earth's interests while also contributing to the stability of the broader galactic community. The formal agreement with the Galactic Council was seen as a first step, but they knew that true security would come from forging strong alliances and building a network of mutual respect and cooperation with other species. Humanity's rise was not just about military strength, it was about becoming a respected and integral part of the galactic order. As the dust settled and the galaxy began to adjust to this new reality, the final scene hinted at the lingering concerns within the Galactic Council. While they had formally acknowledged humanity's power, there were still those who viewed Earth's rapid ascent with a mixture of unease and grudging respect. The Council members, particularly those who had been most confident in their earlier assessments, were forced to reconsider their approach to galactic governance. They knew that the galaxy was changing, and that humanity's influence would only grow in the years to come. Despite these concerns, there was also a recognition that Earth's resilience and strength could be an asset to the galaxy as a whole. The Council members, though wary, could not deny the respect that humanity had earned through its actions. The humans had proven that they were not just survivors but contenders, capable of standing alongside the most powerful species in the galaxy. The Council's acknowledgement of this fact marked the beginning of a new era, one where humanity would no longer be a peripheral player, but a central figure in the shaping of galactic events.